Thanks, Maxim, and thanks to all of you for joining us here today. My name is Alex Bauer, and I'm a customer engineer for Chrome Browser for Enterprise. I help enterprise customers implement Chrome in their environment, and I also help connect customers to the engineering team here at Google, letting them know about any bugs or problems customers are encountering, as well as help formulate new feature requests based on customer feedback. In my session, I'm going to walk you through some helpful techniques for managing your Chrome browser deployment using Chrome Browser Cloud Management. I'm sure many of you are managing your browsers already, but for those of you who aren't, I'll start out with a brief introduction about the benefits of Chrome Browser Management. Next, I'll introduce Chrome Browser Cloud Management, our enterprise solution for managing Chrome from the cloud, and after that, I'll talk about best practices for building your organizational structure within Chrome Browser Cloud Management. Finally, I'll take you through a series of demos that will show you how to manage your deployments using the admin console, including setting up your machines, Jamf integration, managing users and browser settings, update management, remote commands, bookmark management, and legacy browser support. Before I walk you through the admin console, though, let's take a minute to talk about why it's important to manage your browser deployment. First, browser management allows you to customize the browser experience for your users based on a wide range of criteria, including job function, geolocation, and much more. It gives you the ability to set up that common enterprise experience for all your browsers. If you're not managing your browsers, it's difficult to enforce certain security settings. It can also be hard to achieve symmetry between different parts of your organization and make sure all of your end users have what they need to do their jobs. Second, you can pre-configure settings to meet your organization's needs. For example, you can whitelist extensions your end users need to stay productive and blacklist anything you think might interfere with their jobs. Third, security. Much of today's workflow is taking place over the web, moving fluidly between devices, operating systems, and locations. This creates a lot of potential vulnerabilities for your end users, with the browser being a particularly targeted place for data attacks. Browser management gives you valuable security controls to keep your organization and data safe. And finally, it gives you the power to control versions and updates for every device in your fleet. Clearly, it's important to manage your browser deployments, especially with the rise of distributed workforces and all the complications that can create. Unfortunately, traditional browser management can often make things more complicated, not less. In traditional browser management, Chrome configurations can take place in many different locations, including registry, group policy, and plist for Mac and Linux. It can be hard to know which settings have been applied and where. The ideal browser management solution should make administrators' lives easier and not more complicated. That's why we created Chrome Browser Cloud Management. We launched Chrome Browser Cloud Management with the goal of giving IT administrators a single centralized location where they can manage all the deployments in their entire organization across Windows, Mac, Linux, and soon iOS and Android. With Chrome Browser Cloud Management, you can see the details you need to know about what apps and extensions are being used across your organization in one place. You can easily force install the extensions you want your end users to have and block any suspicious extensions you want to restrict. You can group sets of browsers into organizational units to conveniently apply policies across different sets of users and manage all policies across devices on any platform from one place. Chrome Browser Cloud Management is network agnostic, enabling you to deploy policies on corporate or public networks. And it gives administrators immediate access to information about which policies are in place, which browser versions, extensions, and apps their end users have installed, and more, all in one clear, easy to use admin console. Since releasing Chrome Browser Cloud Management in 2019, we've seen significant adoption by enterprises. For administrators and end users alike, there are many great benefits to managing from the cloud. Cloud management enables you to see all installed extensions across your corporate machines. It integrates smoothly with existing tools via APIs and works with the legacy apps your enterprise needs. When combined with Google Identity, you can create dynamic policies that change based on whoever signs into the browser. And with the rise of Chromebooks in the workplace, you can now have a one stop shop for everything Chrome. It is literally one tool to manage them all from a Chrome perspective. Before we get into specific features, let's take a minute to talk about creating an organizational structure for your deployment using organizational units, or OUs. These will be your buckets for devices. The best practices for creating your structure is to use whatever is best for your organization, with simplicity being key. You can build your structure based on geolocation, use case, business unit, Active Directory OU, a combination of any of these, or you can use Google Cloud Directory Sync to replicate your directory structure and keep it automatically updated. As Maxim mentioned in the previous session, we're also working on groups, which will be a new way to organize users. Now that we've covered the basics, Let's get into the fun stuff. How to use cloud management and the admin console to get more control over your Chrome browser deployment and set your end users up for success. Here we see the Google Admin Console. I should note that you don't need a Google Workspace license to use this solution. We originally built this functionality for Chromebooks, and when it came time to create our cloud management solution, it just made sense to expand the current solution. This is a complementary solution, so there are no costs associated with browser management at a device level. There are a lot of different things you can do through this console, but let's start by looking at our devices. In the devices section, we can see a few different categories. Here you can manage your Chrome OS devices. However, let's click on the Manage Browsers box to see all of our non-Chrome OS browser deployments. Here you can see all the devices we have in our organization, including Windows, Mac, and Linux devices. On the left is the organizational structure we talked about a little earlier. Let's pick one of the organizational units or OUs from our organizational structure and use it to check in a new device. For this example, I'm going to choose the Mac devices OU. As you can see, right now we don't have any browsers enrolled in our Mac list. Let's change that. When I click on this yellow button, this generates an enrollment token which is unique for the Mac OU. We can push this token onto our Mac OS devices using Jamf or any other MDM of choice. For Windows, we can use GPO or any other MDM solution. Note that this token is unique for each OU. If I choose a different OU, for example the Dev OU, and I go through the enrollment process, I get another token with a different string. I'm guessing you did not memorize the string from the previous example, so you're just going to have to take my word for it. The token is different for each organizational unit, but they're the same for all machines that fall in the same OU. In just a little bit, I'll show you how to push an enrollment token using an MDM solution, but right now let's take a look at the device view. Back on the Manage Browsers page, you can see we now have a nice long list of managed browsers installed on the devices across our organization. You can search and filter the devices up at the top based on machine name, organizational unit, and so forth. Let's click on one of the macOS devices to get more information. In here, you can see details about the machine itself and also take actions such as moving a machine record between various OUs or unenrolling it from the admin console. Underneath the machine info, we can see the profiles associated with this browser installation. It's important to note that we don't capture any personal data that would violate user privacy. Google takes privacy very seriously, and we make sure that we're GDPR compliant. No cookies, cache, browser history, autofill data, nothing that would compromise privacy for the end users. The only thing we capture is if the user is using a Google identity to sync on the profile, so you can see if they're using a corporate or personal account. Another thing we've built into here is remote commands. So for instance, if one of your users is having trouble accessing a website or a website isn't loading correctly, what's the first thing you do? Most likely you'd ask them to clear their browser data. Now, instead of having to walk the user through the process manually, you can clear that data yourself right here in the admin console. All you have to do is select the profile the user is using, click on the three dots, and choose whichever option you need to clear the cache, the cookies, or both. Once you've done that, the data is instantly deleted on the user's computer with no need to restart. Here you can see we have a list of all installed apps and extensions and which profile and browser installation they're deployed to. In the next session, Fletcher will show you all the ways you can manage extensions using cloud management. So for now, let's take a look at a few more things we can see in this view. In this area, we can see all the machine policies that are applied in the browser. Here you can tell if these are cloud or local policies, whether they're applied correctly, and the value of each of the policies. Until now, when you applied managed policies on the browser, you had no way of knowing what was actually being enforced. Now you have the peace of mind knowing your policies are applied and configured exactly how you want them to be. For all the policies available for Chrome, visit g.co/chrome/enterprise policies, or just click on the link below in the video player. Scrolling down, we can also see any installed plugins, and finally, any custom fields you want to configure manually from the console. Now let's take a look at our enrollment tokens. To do that, click on the Chrome menu in the nav bar, which brings us to the page displaying all the links related to Chrome management. Click on Enrollment Tokens, and you can see a list of all the tokens that have been configured for your organization, which organization unit they're assigned to, status, and which user created each of these tokens. You can also see if a token has been revoked, who revoked it, and when it was revoked. Speaking of tokens, let's step out of the admin console for a minute so I can show you how to use these tokens and enroll your browsers. Let's start with Jamf. We've been working closely with our friends at Jamf, and they've created a simple workflow that lets you deploy the enrollment token with just a few clicks. Start by going into Jamf Pro and clicking on the configuration profile link in the nav bar. Click on New to create the new profile. Now scroll down to the middle and select Application and Custom Settings. Then External Applications. Click on the Add button to add a new payload. For source, choose repository, and in the application domain box, choose Google Chrome. Choose the version of this policy. Currently, there's only one version, so that's an easy choice. And the same goes with the variant. Now you'll see there's a box at the bottom for the enrollment token. Paste the token, save the profile, and assign the scope of this profile to whatever devices you manage. As soon as the profile deploys and the browsers restart, these browsers will be enrolled in our admin console with all the assigned configurations, extensions, policies, and controls that are assigned to that OU. That's it. It's just that simple. If you're interested in knowing how to enroll in other MDMs like Workspace ONE, check out the demo linked in the resources section below. There are just a few more things I'd like to cover before I pass on the mic to Fletcher to talk about extension management. First, let's talk about user and browser settings. Let's go back in our Chrome management menu and click on the user and browser settings link. This is where you configure all the policies you want to enforce on the browser. There are lots and lots of settings you can customize in here. Everything from sign-in behavior to incognito mode to proxy configurations, site isolation settings, password manager, and so much more. If you want to search and filter through the settings, you can do so in the top bar, just like in any other views we've looked at. Settings in Chrome Browser Cloud Management have the attribute of inheritance, meaning whatever you apply at the top level also applies to everything beneath that. You can see when I click into these settings that many of them are inherited from global organization. However, if you want to bypass any inherited settings, you can also go in and adjust your settings for individual OUs. Password Manager in this case shows as locally applied, which means the dev OU is overriding the password manager for those devices. While we're here, let me show you how to manage bookmarks. With central bookmark management, you can standardize bookmarks for different sets of employees, setting up your end users' browsers with instant access to key sites and apps they need to do their jobs. We've recently introduced new customization options that give you more control over bookmark management. The method for creating a new bookmark is very similar to the way you'd create a new bookmark for your own browser. When you click on a folder, you have the option to create a new bookmark or a new subfolder. For example, let's add a new bookmark under the shipping department folder. Click on shipping department and choose bookmark. Give it a name and assign the corresponding URL and click add. And voila, the inventory bookmark is ready to go. Moving bookmarks is just as easy. Go to the inventory bookmark and click the more options icon on the far right side. Select move up and the bookmark is instantly moved one line higher. If you want to move the bookmark to a different folder, click the more options icon again and select move to. Select the folder you want to move the bookmark to, click move, and now your bookmark is right where you want it to be. As you saw in the more options menu, you can also easily edit the names or URLs of bookmarks or delete the ones you no longer need. When you're all done, select the Save button in the upper right hand corner. Changes will now be applied to all the browsers that are affected across your organization. If you are used to group policy, I am sure you can appreciate how much easier it is to set up these bookmarks in the admin console versus having to code them in GPO. Finally, I'd like to take a minute to talk about legacy browser support and one of the most requested new features, legacy browser support for Edge IE mode. Everyone here today knows how challenging legacy apps can be to deal with in your enterprise. If your browser updates and your employees no longer have access to these legacy sites and apps, it can cause a lot of problems for everyone's workflow. So we've given Chrome the capability to support older applications while you're transitioning to modern apps. We integrated legacy browser support in version 74. So as long as your browsers are version 74 or higher, you should be good to go. As Maxim mentioned, with our recent update, your users can now open IE-based applications directly in the Edge browser, minimizing the number of locations your users need to go to use their legacy apps. So let's set up some policies in the admin console and see how it works. First, go to user settings and find the OU where you want to make a change. You can type legacy browser support into the filter field or just scroll down. In the legacy browser support category, simply click enable legacy browser support to set it up on all devices in that OU. There are a few different policies you can set pertaining to legacy browser support, including integrating a delay before the alternate browser launches. You can use IE's site list policy as your rule source, link to an existing site list XML file, or create your own list directly in the console. When you're done, remember to save your settings by clicking on the Save button in the upper right-hand corner. If you want your users to automatically be taken back to Chrome from Internet Explorer, we can set that up easily. We just need to install the Legacy Browser Support MSI package. If you want to use Edge in IE mode, we also have instructions for that as well in the resources section below. We have recently released a lot of API functionality in the admin console. In fact, in just the past 3 months alone, we have more than doubled the API capabilities of the admin console. Two recent highlights are the enrollment token API and the policy API. The enrollment token API enables you to create, list, and revoke enrollment tokens quickly and easily. With the policy API, you can configure browser policies that are available in the admin console. We're continuing to develop and release new APIs to help you better customize your deployment and automate and streamline your workflow. So there you have it. That's Chrome Browser Cloud Management. I walked you through the overview, but there's still so much more to get into. In the final session today, my colleague Helen will show you how to take more control over your browser updates. But first, Fletcher is going to walk you through the ins and outs of extension management. Over to you, Fletcher.